Good morning and welcome back. Glad to see you today. There has been a movement in the last few weeks among people trying to encourage and support our graduating seniors because they are not able to attend graduation or prom or some of those things that have been meaningful to them that they're looking forward to. And so that movement is that we go back and we find our senior picture and we post it online as just a way to encourage them. So I went back and I found mine, and I'm not going to be posting it. You're not going to be seeing it. I'm going to find a different way to encourage you and support you. The 70s, that was my generation. I loved it. Wore bell bottoms, and I wore those silky shirts that had designs all over them, and platform shoes, and I danced to disco music, and my hair was, well, if I wait a little bit longer about getting a haircut, my hair will probably be like it was during the 70s, except for it was darker back then. But the 70s, that was my generation. I talked on Monday about building a foundation in the 60s, laying a foundation. So really for me in the 70s, it was about building a house on that foundation. One that just kept growing and blossoming and changing and moving, and I was knocking out walls and moving walls in order to expand all of the things that were happening in my life. I graduated from high school. I found my class ring the other day. I don't know why I hang on to it. It's probably worth about $10. I kind of think about trading it in and getting it melted down, but don't think I'll get very much. I was pretty invisible in high school. So I didn't really have a group that I ran with, and so I was glad to get out, glad to start into something new. And so when college came around, I was ready for it. The summer between my high school graduation and starting college, I sensed that God was calling me into vocational ministry. And so I made the decision to not go to UT, instead to go to a Baptist college in Kentucky. I made that decision in August. I applied, was accepted, and started all within about 1 month. That in itself is a miracle. When I went to college, life was wonderful for me. I loved it. I had professors, religion professors, who opened my mind on how to understand Scripture and interpret Scripture, how to experience God in new ways that I had never known before, and I just ate it up. I couldn't get enough of it. I had really great friends, genuine friends, some that have just lasted for decades after we graduated. I also had opportunities to step up and to be a leader in some places. So I really had that opportunity to redevelop or reinvent myself, really a second chance at life. So I loved it. After my freshman year, I had an opportunity to go to Israel and there work in a Baptist mission for a year. And I did. It was a great experience for me, and I wouldn't take anything in the world for it because it also shaped my whole life. There's something about living in a foreign culture that does that for you. It changed my perspective. It gave me a global perspective of the world. It instilled in me this desire to travel and a love to travel, a love for the Old Testament, a love for missions. But the biggest thing that it gave me was a sense of how to connect to God in a very genuine way that doesn't have all of the trappings that I had experienced whenever I had lived, whenever I had been growing up. I was so glad I took that opportunity. I almost didn't because I love college so much, but I did make the decision to go. And on the night before I left and got on the plane, here's this young guy who's hardly been out of Tennessee, never been on a plane, is getting ready to fly around the world. And I opened up my Bible and I came to this passage in Joshua 1:9 that said, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for I, the Lord your God, will be with you wherever you go." And that overwhelmed me with peace, and I was able to make that trip. I almost didn't come home, didn't want to come home because I had found a new home there. But I'm glad I did because when I came back, I met Kim and we started dating. I graduated from college and then went on to seminary, and she finished her last year and then joined me in Louisville, and we got married. And then that house that I had been building became a home because I had a new role then. Now I'm a husband. I'm not just thinking about me, I'm also thinking about her. I'm thinking about us. Our world was expanding. Our home, our house, the life that we were building was expanding, and it was growing. It was a wonderful, wonderful decade. And what had been built at the end of that decade was certainly not anything like what I thought it was at the very beginning. I had always thought that the 70s for me were about new opportunities and new experiences, expanding my life and growing. But as I've thought through it today, I've come to a different conclusion. It's really about facing fears and taking risks. Because that's what I did. I faced my fears and I took a lot of risks that I believe God had called me to take. And I don't regret any of them because every one of them paid off. And I needed to be reminded of that. Because sometimes taking risks doesn't come easy for us, or we don't like to do it. And these are risky times. Sometimes just getting up and facing the day can be a risk. So the question that I'd ask for you is God asking you to take a risk? Is he asking you to step out on faith? Is he trying to expand your life or your mind in some way? If so, I would encourage you to say yes. Because I believe that he who began a good work in you is going to see it all the way to the end. And in the end, it's going to be great. So, what's your story? Think about that today. And I'll see you on Friday.